Steve Kim here for UCN Live, and I'm here with Julian Williams, young junior middleweight contender. December 20th, final fight of the year against Edgar Ortega from Shelton, Washington on Showtime. Julian, as you take a look at your career, do you feel as though this will be the last fight before you launch into that next plateau of fighters?
I mean, I feel as though it is. You know, how many more Edgar Ortegas can I fight? You know,
right.
before you know, I think a prospect or whatever stays at the same level too long, he'll get stuck. You know what I mean? And I don't want to keep fighting the same level of competition, you know, for too much of a long time. I want to, you know, step up eventually.
If you could map out your 2015, and we talked to the Breadman about it, there's a certain plan here that's going to include 3 to 4 fights, culminating maybe in a title shot. How do you see the next 12 months of your career playing out?
Hopefully, you know, I'll fight in, I said February or March, then I'll go again in May, you know, and I want to try to get a title shot by the end of 15, you know. That's how I see it going.
Not asking you to call anyone out, but I know you keep up with boxing. I know Steven definitely does. Who do you think are the 2 or 3 best junior middleweights in the world currently? Not named Julian Williams.
Definitely Canelo. You know, okay. He's really fighting. He's lining them up right now. You gotta respect that. I think Lara's good, and believe it or not, I think Vanis is another good one.
Vanis Martirosyan, really?
He's good, yeah, I do.
When you look at the state of boxing today, you are an Al Haymon fighter. Now, Al Haymon and his clients are taking a lot of heat for almost getting more protection than Obama does with the Secret Service. Stephen Edwards has made it clear that we're not going to do that. We are going to actively seek out the best fighters in the world. Do you believe that there is right now currently a stigma in being an Al Haymon client for whatever reason?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think he looks out for his fighters, you know, and to be honest with you, Al Haymon will let you fight if you ask him to fight. I think you can't force guys to get in the ring. So his job is to protect his fighters, and I think that's what he's doing. He does a great job at it. That's about it, really, you know.
But okay, not to name names. I know this could get very political. This could get very awkward.
Listen, let me say one thing. Al Haymon's not the only fighter that's protected.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that a manager's goal is to protect his fighter and get him paid. If every manager could do what Al Haymon do, they would do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of these things are motivated because they're jealous. You know, he's got a lot of control. He's got he can pull strings, you know what I mean? So I think if managers could do what they do, they would do it.
Yeah, he could pull more strings than Geppetto with Pinocchio. Right. And I think the term you're looking for is risk versus reward. That is a manager's job. Okay, without getting into specifics or naming names, have there been instances when fighters have made certain decisions where you even said to yourself, geez, I would have fought. I would have done that. I would not, or I wouldn't have taken that course of action.
It's boxing, of course. You know what I mean? Sometimes guys take fights they shouldn't take, and sometimes guys turn fights down that they should take. It's boxing, it's business. That's just the way it goes. But yeah, of course, you know, I don't want to name no names, but every career and every choice and decision is going to be different. Some people are going to agree, some people not. It's just how life is. You know.
Do you believe that you are a Philly-bred fighter? That your natural inclination is to always go after the toughest / best fight?
Yeah, definitely. It really doesn't matter to me who I fight, you know. When we looking for opponents, Steve called me, said, fighting this guy, check him out. You know what I mean? That's the guy. That's the guy. I don't sit up and go through box record and say, oh my gosh, he looks like he can't punch, or he looks like he'll be a good fighter, make me look good. And Steve, I want to fight him. We don't do that. You know what I mean? I think I want to get the best available opponent for the most amount of money. You know what I mean? So if that's Canelo or Lara or whoever, you know what I mean? That's what I want to fight.
Julian, I find it interesting. You have an old school trainer who is embracing modern technology in terms of the training and the conditioning and the nutrition. When you started doing things that were outside the normal box of what you've done for years, was it a bit of a culture shock for you?
Yes, for sure. First of all, when you come out here and you start doing these kind of things, your body's not used to it. So it takes a little bit of time for your body to get used to it. I was out here back in May, and I was out in April and I fought in May. And it was extremely hard, I was extremely sore. But what we did was we took some of the things that we learned out here and we was practicing on them since May, since after the Michael Medina fight. And so I came out here this time, and I'm breezing right through the workouts, you know, because I've been doing them for the last 5 or 6 months. So it's not really, it doesn't really take that big of a toll on my body anymore because my body's used to it because I've been doing it. But that just shows improvement, you know what I mean? So it's good though, everything.
Julian, on that curve machine, when you're doing the intermittent hypoxic training, the sprinting on the curve machine, describe what you're going through for those 15 seconds when you're at a full sprint.
Well, first of all, they have the mask over your face and you're only breathing in oxygen that's coming through the tank. That's number one. So you're running about 9 miles an hour, and then when you get to 9, you stay there for about 10 seconds, and then you push as fast as you can go, whether it's 14, I think the highest I got was like 14 miles an hour for about 5 or 6 seconds. And then you gotta stop, but you still only get to breathe in the oxygen that's coming through the mask. You can't take the mask off. You know what I mean? So it's extremely hard. It's probably the hardest thing. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
Now it's funny, the altitude dome. That's Victor's baby. What's that like, actually shadow boxing in there and jumping rope in there for 10 to 15 minutes? What's your body go through at that point?
It's hard to breathe in. It's hard to
really?
Sit in there. Yeah, it is. I can imagine, you know, they were talking about getting a ring to put in there, or getting one to build a ring so guys can box. I couldn't imagine. It would be something great if you were able to do it, but it's hard. You know, if you're in there just sitting down, you probably couldn't feel it, but you getting around, start moving around, start jumping around, shadow boxing a little bit, the air gets really thick and thin. I mean, the air gets really thin where you can't, you know, breathe as much. You know what I mean? So you gotta, you know, it's hard.
Julian, you were very young when Barry Bonds was rewriting the baseball record book.
Right.
And Victor fully admitted he had a lot to do with it.
Right.
My question is this: how much did you know about Victor Conte before the bread man said, we're going to come out here to San Carlos, California?
I'm a sports fan, so I'm not a baseball fan, right? But when that whole Victor Conte thing was going on, I remember it. I didn't really get involved in it. I didn't really pay attention to it because I'm not a baseball fan. But I remember with exactly what happened. I knew all the guys in MLB was on steroids, and Barry Bonds, and the whole indictment of him because they had it on ESPN every single day. But when we started working with him, of course I researched everything, you know what I mean? And I found that he's rehabilitated and he's doing all these great things and stuff like that. But it's a good thing, man.
I asked this of Stephen Edwards, and he's made the proclamation that once you guys have the economic means, you will be doing more rigid testing, whether it's VADA or another organization. The question is very simple. You don't have to name names, I don't want to put you in that position, but do you suspect in your weight class or even above it, or in the sport of boxing, there are a lot of guys bending the rules?
Definitely. But I don't, of course I'm not going to say no names, but it's sports, man. Boxing isn't the only sport that has guys that's using PED. That's just the way it's sports. You know, everybody want to get that extra edge. I don't care what it is. You know, if I could rub some Vaseline on you and tell you it's something else, and you know, in your head, you might think that, you know, you might be Superman. You know what I mean? But it's just Vaseline, but they don't know that. They're just trying to get the edge. You know? I think it's more mental if anything, you know, but it's definitely PEDs in boxing for sure.
Okay, Julian, listen, appreciate the time. Best of luck on the 20th. This is Julian J. Rock Williams. He fights December 20th in Shelton, Washington on Showtime. This is Steve Kim for UCN Live.